After considering for a few minutes how I was going to effectively fill this with wood so that I could screw in the fasteners that I've got here, I gave up and decided to go back down to the hardware store and get some dowel rods. The dowel rods fit very nicely into the inside of these male adapters, which is ideal. I'll be able to put those in, glue them in. There's essentially no wiggle room. So those will fit nice and tightly and give me a nice easy place to attach the button fasteners that I've got here. On the other hand, the empty, without the attachment on the 1/2 inch PVC here, has a little bit of wiggle room in it, which I'm just going to wrap up the very end of this, maybe about 4 or 5 inches on the end of it, with duct tape so that it fits in there snug, and then I'll still glue it in just to make sure that it doesn't move around and doesn't have anywhere to go. The second thing that I realized when I was using these dowel rods is that if I put them all the way through, it'll create a little more stability on these smaller PVC pipe that I ended up using. So I can put the dowel all the way through, and that way it adds a little bit of stability there. The only concern that I have that I'm going to have to address is that I can't have it stick out the bottom, because when I screw in the male fitting behind it, the PVC or the dowel on the is going to come all the way up to the end of that. In this case, with the cap on the bottom, that one will be easy enough. I'll simply put this all the way down in there, measure out the end of this, what's going to be the very top, and I'll make my cut there. So on this one, I'll cut it just at the top of that and have no problems whatsoever, because this cap is attached permanently. It's never going to come off, and this doesn't have any reason for the dowel to not be able to fill the entire pipe. Mark this down so I know which end is going inside of the pipe. So on these other two, what I've considered doing, we'll use this one as an example as it'll be a little bit easier, is putting this all the way inside of there, taking into consideration how much room the male threads are going to need. So we'll go up just past the threads, and I'm going to put a hole straight through here, and then just use a piece of wire or maybe just a nail that I can put through and saw off the end of it so that it's nice and flush, sand it down, and super glue that in so that the dowel rod fills almost the entire pipe, and all of the potential weak points in the pipe will be filled by the dowel rod. And that way, and then again, it won't fall at the bottom because there will be a piece of wire or nail or something in there holding it in. So that's what I'll do in these other two cases to ensure that I still have plenty of room to screw in the male adapters into the female adapters and the dowel rod's not getting in the way. So I'm going to do some measuring, some cutting, and I'll come back to you when I have dowel rods that are going to go in here properly. That'll all be the right length. Found a couple of small nails that don't really have heads on them or anything like that. I don't know what they're used for, just have them lying around. And I drilled a couple of small holes with the 1/16 inch drill bit through both sides of both of these female adapters. I'm just going to drive the nails through here. It's not quite big enough for the nail to fit in, but that should be perfect. It'll give it a nice snug fit. taking the dowels out, cut them down to their proper lengths, and now we're going to start putting them in. I'm going to start with the two that don't need any modifications to them, that are just going to slide all the way down to the bottom, and that fits nice and flush up top. Smooth right across the top there. Slide it out a little bit. Get a generous amount of super glue on here. I do not want this to move at all. I want it to stick and stay. Put that all the way down in there. Move that glue around a little bit. And make sure to clean up all the excess off the threads. I don't want anything getting in the way of these threads either. So after we've got all the dowels glued in and they fit nice and tight, we're going to come back and snip off the excess of these nails. It's keeping it from going to the bottom. And once both the nails are snipped, I'm going to go ahead and hammer this down a little bit, just to make sure it's centered. Alright, and then just drop a glue on each side just to make sure they're not going anywhere. Alright, next thing we're going to do is attach these fasteners. And in order to attach the fasteners on the bottom, all we've got to do is screw these in. Alright, I'm going to line these up into the center of these dowels. Start screwing in nice and slow. But now that they're all pretty much completed, I'm going to measure and cut this fabric, see how big I'd like the seating area to be and how big I can actually make it. Like this, cut it out, and we'll pick up again there in just a moment. I cut an equilateral triangle at 15 inches on all three sides. It's hard to see, but I think that's going to be about as big as I want it. I also cut another one out that's about 16.5 inches on all sides, and as you can see, that one seems to fit a little bit better, but I'd like to have it stretched. So what I'm going to do here is use a few pieces of strap that I cut out. On all of these pieces, I melted the ends because it is plastic, and I melted all the sides and everything so that it wouldn't fray, hopefully. And what I'm going to do now is leave the excess on the bigger piece and put these strap pieces into the middle and figure out how this kit works.